My name is Leo Mintek. I'm a guitar player with the band Outernational from New York. We play revolution rock music. We've been doing it for almost 10 years now. Recently been traveling outside of the country, but always with a vision of trying to create a revolutionary consciousness through music, through art, and being a cultural force in really heavy times. For me personally, it started when I was a teenager, a young person, and that's what the music was about for me. I was listening to a lot of punk rock and underground ska music, and bands like the Dead Kennedys, bands like the Clash, and then other underground bands in the 90s were completely about making a new culture and resisting the dominant mainstream status quo of militarism and violence and empire and consumerism. And so I got that's how I got introduced to really the music that was more than just a CD you put on. Music that really was cultural. It was a community. It had you went out to shows, you bought records, there was whole communities of people in it, and it was cultural, not just a CD that you like the sound of. And then of course also we're very influenced by the music of the earlier generation. We know very much about the 1960s and the huge effect that had on the whole world, the countercultural movement, around, you can't separate what happened in the 1960s from the music at that time. And we look at right now, 21st century, and I think it's screaming out for more music to respond to the era, and it's hard to find right now. So with my group Outernational, there's many sides to what we do. There's the music itself, the content of the songs and the art, and I think even that alone can be a very powerful thing. But you've mentioned some of the more interesting tours that we've done. For example, we went to New Orleans, gosh, 3 4 years ago. When was it? After the BP oil spill happened in New Orleans. We went down there really just because we were on a tour and we were nearby. We wanted to check it out. And we ended up going down to the docks and seeing the cleanup workers, and we played a show for them. Um, since then, we released a concept album about the U.S.-Mexico border, and we toured the entire border, mostly on the U.S. side, playing in all these border cities and border communities. Um, we've also now left the United States and gone to places like Colombia, Mexico, Argentina, and other places where, as people have told us, U.S. bands who aren't super famous don't even go. So the question is kind of what happens? What was significant? Did it matter? Did it matter that we went down there? And man, there's a lot of angles to things, okay? On one hand, music can do a lot of exposure and can tell a lot of stories that aren't usually told, or maybe tell the stories in a more emotional or more real way than if it's just presented as, I don't know, an article, for example. The way film can do that too, you know. Um, that's one side of things. On the other hand, actually touring and taking art and going to places was really tremendous. We were constantly told no one ever comes down here to South Texas. No one ever comes here to the Native American First Nations reservation on the border of Arizona and Mexico. No one ever comes here. And even that in itself was powerful, just to have that conversation, to let them know we're paying attention to you. We know what's going on. We want to learn. And also we see it as significant and important for this whole situation we're in. Um, our music is very much about making connections between things. We definitely have songs and do things around issues. We have songs about war, songs about violence against women. But in every example, we try to draw the connections, the deeper connections as to why are these things happening and what's the system behind it all. That's why we went to the border. The border itself concentrates so many problems of 21st century capitalism, imperialism. You have the semi-trucks, which can go across all day long. 24/7, there are semi-trucks bringing goods back and forth between the countries. But people can't do that freely. You have the racism embodied on it, where militias are set up to hunt down migrants who are just going to work the shit jobs that full-blown citizens with papers don't want to do. Yet there's people there with guns trying to shoot them and trying to take their water from them so that they can't survive. The border is a situation where the woman crossing the border has to give up money and basically her power to the coyote, the guy that's going to take him across the border. The rape and sexual abuse is crazy. So this border itself just concentrates so many things, you know. And so we're always trying to draw those connections. So it's not simply like a charity or a journalism thing where, oh, we're going down to this place that's messed up and we're going to talk about it and help the people. It's also like we're challenging people down there to say, hey, what you're dealing with is actually part of a bigger thing. And if you're not already thinking about that, we want to challenge you to think about that. And I think that's one of the most profound things that art can really do, is it can take people way outside of their personal experience in their day-to-day life and put them in a whole other place. I mean, honestly, I've made my life about this. So I've been deeply changed by doing this. I've always been a musician. I'd be a musician no matter what, professional or not. It's a part of my life. And I've always been really concerned with, I don't know, like, I see it as like a responsibility of living in a first world imperialist country. But like, I have the knowledge. I grew up with the right kind of education to know about what this country does, what Canada's complicit in as being best buds of the U.S., what North America does to the rest of the world, what the capitalist system does to the world. I grew up exposed to that knowledge. And so that's always been kind of a part of what I considered myself a liberal or a rebel, and then I was an anarchist, and now maybe I'm a communist. I don't know, But it's always been a part of my life, as is music. But really now I've been 10 years deep in working as hard as I can in a band that's kind of about raising revolutionary consciousness amongst people. And I shy away from a label like activist band, protest band, because I think that puts you in a box that actually sells it short. And I think that sells short the value of art. It's not just here to like support a protest and to make people have fun at a rally. And it's not just to give you like, something tasty to make the medicine go down if we're trying to like preach some heavy concepts. That sells art short. Art, and these are things I've learned by actually doing this, Art is really profound. Art has to do with the imagination. It has to do with concepts of the self, and like when you're in a show and you're really going somewhere, your feeling of self is broken down where you feel the we in the room. Like we're going somewhere together. Art can really affect that, how a person connects with other people. It can help you understand where you position yourself in the world. And in doing this band, there's always been criticism. We've gotten lots of criticism from various things. From hearing, you don't have business to be down here. You're not from here. You're white. You're not supposed to be saying this. It's not your business. All kinds of criticisms to people who are just like, if you don't like it, leave the country. If you don't like it, you're ungrateful. The military is what gives you the freedom to say what you're even saying right now. We get all that criticism. But then, much more than that, we've gotten just sincere thank yous from people saying, wow, you've restored some faith. You've given me some hope now. Like the older generation from the 60s, I've been told numerous times, man, we thought our stuff was wasted when we look out at the next generation. But we're glad there's people like you out here taking forward what we started 50 years ago. We've had all kinds of people saying thank you for telling our stories in your music. That's beautiful. I've had women say, wow, I never thought a man could have that kind of perspective on this. I'm glad I know there's some good men out there who are trying to be a part of the solution. And that's powerful, and that helps you keep your eyes on the road, when things get very difficult. Because believe me, if you're trying to make art and culture that really matters and challenges what's going on, it's going to be really hard. It's going to be financially hard. You're going to be criticized for a lot of ways you never even expected. But it's really important, man, and you can see that. Will music change the world? No, people have to do it. Will art and culture, can just music and dance change things? No, it can't. But it can change minds, and it can change perspectives, and it can be a food to fuel a fire that otherwise needs to burn. And if you look at any powerful social movements ever in history, you can pretty much always find a cultural side to it. This goes back to African musics in the diaspora, of keeping people alive and keeping the drum alive. It goes to all types of things. And 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 really all art is political, even music and art that claims not to be just then supports what's already going on. And in today's day, what's really going on is really bad. So you can just really see a crying need for this kind of art. And it doesn't have to be didactic, it doesn't have to be literal, it doesn't have to be like political lyrics talking about Noam Chomsky ideas. It really doesn't. It can be a lot of things. And inspiration and imagination is huge right now. And even just having the younger generation understand that the world, as they're inheriting it, has always been changing and is going to continue to change. Things are not stuck the way they are, and things don't have to be this way. This is not the greatest of all systems. This is not the pinnacle of humanity and the pinnacle of the planet. No, this is a phase, and it's way out of control. It's a perversion, and it's dangerous, but it can be changed. And without imagination, we're stuck. So that's, I think, the biggest thing about art through all this times. And you can't rely on just that. We got to do a lot of things that are not fun and are not artistic. And I mean, maybe everything's a little bit artistic, but we got to get down to business on a lot of things, So I'm not going to be naive to say that music is going to change the world. No, but it's a big part of things. And especially in this moment of lowered sights, where people are getting really frustrated by, I feel like people don't know where to put their effort and their desires for a better world, music can be very important.